Thibault Liger-Belair. We are in my domain, in my cellar, in Nuit Saint-Georges, domain Thibault Liger-Belair. And I just want to explain a little bit my view about 2012 vintage. 2012 vintage was a hard vintage to do. It was a vintage of one grover. It's a vintage where there are a lot of problems with disease in the vineyard. And but the first thing was the flowering. Flowering was not easy, and there are very big difference between Nuit Saint-Georges and Vendromanet. And because it was a question of also a storm. There are some big storm in Nuit Saint-Georges, and maybe sometimes you have a little bit more water, and in Vendromanet a little bit less. I have some vines in Nuit Saint-Georges south, like Les Saint-Georges and Nuit Saint-Georges north, and on the Vendromanet side, and also have some vineyard in Vendromanet. And we have seen a big difference between these four vineyards. In the Nuit Saint-Georges south, in Les Saint-Georges, there are a few phenomena. There are the bad flowering with the bad weather and a lot of rain and the storm. Second, the disease with a mildew and reduce the yield. Third, at the end of July, we have a lot of sun and 35 degrees. And 35 degrees burn a little bit the grapes and also reduce a lot of the yield. And a little bit, and if it wasn't enough, we have some hail.
What was there? What was the worst point in the growing season? Was there a point where you thought, I don't want to make wine anymore, I want to do something else, because you had so many things happening?
You know, when you start to do something, when you start a new vintage and you trust about the vintage and you say there are so many diseases, and at the moment you say, okay, after at the end of July, when we have seen that there are some grape was burned, I say, okay, I'm fed up. Now, please, Mother Nature, help us a little bit, because we say at the end of July, I have the idea that I never produce some wine in 2012, because when the vintage starts like this, nothing stops, and it's why. And after the hail, I say, okay, just it wasn't too much, but I wasn't very worried about the hail, because I've seen that after these three type of things, bad flowering, disease, burned by the sun, hell was nothing.
Yeah.
And you just try to just say, okay, it's like this, and we say, okay, I just have to follow, and it's like this. I don't have any choice.
Yeah.
And well, it's and sometimes also when you go in the Saint-Georges and you see the quantity was on the vine, and say, wow, we just have to go to Vendromanet and say, well, it's better. Sometimes in Burgundy you don't have only one plot, you have a different parcel, and you just have to go in the other parcel and you see another one and say, okay, it's better. And I think it was for me what happened in 2012. I go in a few vineyards, and when I make the tour before for to taste all the grapes before the harvest, I start always by the smallest yield for to finish by the biggest yield, just for to finish by a positive ID.
Yeah.
And it's what I've tried to do. But also when you make the vinification and when you start when you finish the harvest and you see the quantity of grapes inside the vat, you say, well, you are not very happy, because you say you don't know which type. You have seen that we have a very good grapes on the sorting table and very in good condition, no rot, very ripe, but you don't know which type of wine, because we will have always a surprise. We can have an idea, but not a precise idea. And at the beginning you are a little bit sad. But at the end of the vinification, you taste the new wine and you say, "Oh, not bad."
Yeah.
And you can have an idea of something. Maybe we can produce something with a good powerful. And for me, I'm always very positive, and we forget a little bit the vintage, the hard vintage, and we begin to think about when you taste the wine, say, "I like the wine," and this is only what is important. And this is also, I think, what is magic in our job, because sometimes we can, of course, we don't have too much wine this year, but when you taste and say, okay, we don't have too much, but I prefer to have less and to have some good wine than to have too much and have some bad wine. And in my conditions, what I try to, I try ways to keep to stay very positive. And also one of the hard things when you work in organic in 2012, it was not easy to follow, because at the moment you trust about organic, you trust about the own protection of the vineyard, and when the disease is so strong and you ask question one time, I have to stop, I have to use chemical product, and sometimes you sleep on this idea and you wake up the day after and you say, well, I have to trust the vineyard. The vine is stronger than us, and we just have to trust. Just have to go on and to go on with this type of techniques like organic, with only some teas and only organic product. I'm sure we can have a better finishing.
Yeah. We were just talking about Burgundy generally. How do you see the future of Burgundy? You've had like difficult vintage 12 and a small vintage in 13. Do you think it's going to change a lot in the next few years, or?
Well, I think Burgundy is always a cycle. We can see we have just finished the 2013 vinification. The quantity is sometimes in some cuvées smaller than 2012. I think the quantity is very small, but the wine is there, and it's a problem. It's more a problem for the price. It's more a problem because for us the work is quite the same, and when we produce some yield like 11 or 12 hectoliter per hectare, we have to find a solution for our company, just for the domain. I think the future of Burgundy, I hope, it's hard to say, but I hope, and we hope a good vintage with a good quality and good quantity in the future. But also we hope this type of events for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And every year it's a little bit smaller. But also because we have some weather condition give this type of vintage. But every time we have some a good result with the quality of the wine. The problem. If there are problem, we have to increase the price, and because we don't have any other solution. I hope if we increase the price for 2012 and 2013, and we have vintage with a little bit more quality, a little bit more quantity, and a good quality, we can down the price, and we can try to follow, and not to always be in the increasing of the price. And I think we have to be honest. We are honest with when we make wine, because this is honest wine, just one come from the grapes, very natural. And also we have to have the same thing. We have to use the same thing for the relationship between our customer and us. And if we have a good vintage with a good quantity, or normal quantity, and not half percent that what we produce normally, we have to down a little bit the price for just help also, and to participate to the wine. We have some very good wine in 2012. I think we will produce some good wine in 2013 with a good quality. It's normal because there are a lot of this is a market, a lot of asking, not too much offer, where we can increase the price. If there are more wine, we have to help also our importer, but time will tell.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.